In Philadelphia, a federal judge has ruled that the Trump administration must immediately reinstate a historical slavery exhibit at the president's house. The exhibit documented the lives of 9 individuals enslaved by George Washington during his residency in Philadelphia. Judge Cynthia Roof, appointed by President George W. Bush, emphasized the importance of preserving historical truth. In her ruling, she cited George Orwell's 1984, warning against rewriting history, saying, "As if the Ministry of Truth in Orwell's 1984 existed with its motto, 'Ignorance is strength.' This court is now asked to determine whether the federal government has the power it claims to dissemble and disassemble historic truths. It does not." The Trump administration admitted in court that the exhibits were historically accurate, but argued that the government should have the discretion to replace them with content reflecting its own viewpoint. The court rejected this argument, citing violations of federal law, specifically the Administrative Procedures Act, which requires federal agencies to coordinate with local officials before altering historical exhibits. The judge's opinion stressed that preserving historical accuracy involves acknowledging both the positive and negative aspects of American history. This includes recognizing that George Washington owned 9 enslaved individuals who lived at the president's house in Philadelphia. Removing or altering these narratives is an unlawful erasure of history. Glenn Kirshner, in his legal breakdown commentary, noted that the administration presented no evidence to justify the removal of the exhibits. By leaving the trial record uncontested, the administration weakened its position for the appeal process. The preliminary injunction requires immediate compliance. The administration must stop removing historically accurate exhibits without legal authorization. Non-compliance could lead to contempt of court, including fines or, in extreme cases, criminal contempt for officials who ignore the order. While the administration publicly denies accusations of racism, the removal of an exhibit documenting slavery reflects an effort to alter public perception of historical events. The judge highlighted that restraint, wisdom, and modesty are essential traits for an effective chief executive, qualities implicitly missing in the administration's approach. This ruling ensures that historical truth is preserved and establishes a precedent for holding government agencies accountable under federal law. It underscores the judiciary's role in protecting factual historical narratives from political influence, ensuring that the lessons of history are accessible for future generations.
The Trump administration has filed an appeal against the ruling issued by Judge Cynthia Roof in Philadelphia. According to the Washington Post, the preliminary injunction requires the immediate reinstatement of a historical slavery exhibit at the president's house, documenting the lives of 9 individuals enslaved by George Washington. Once the case moves to an appellate court, no new evidence can be introduced, which means the trial record from the preliminary injunction stage will remain the basis for review. Glenn Kirshner of Legal Breakdown explained that this procedural fact significantly strengthens the plaintiff's case. During the trial, the Trump administration conceded that the exhibits were historically accurate. This admission limits their ability to argue alternative rationales for the removal of the exhibits on appeal. Under the Administrative Procedures Act, federal agencies are prohibited from acting arbitrarily or capriciously. Reuters reports that the Trump administration violated this law by removing the exhibits without proper coordination with local Philadelphia officials. The plaintiffs, including the city of Philadelphia, presented multiple pieces of evidence supporting their claims, while the administration provided none. This left the trial court record entirely uncontested. The preliminary injunction remains in effect and requires immediate compliance. The administration must restore the exhibits to their original state. Failure to comply could result in contempt of court, which may include significant monetary fines or, in extreme cases, criminal contempt for federal officials who continue to defy the order. Legal analysts have noted that while financial penalties are common, criminal contempt is a stronger tool to ensure compliance when monetary sanctions alone are insufficient. NBC News highlighted the broader societal importance of this ruling. The preservation of historical exhibits, particularly those documenting slavery, ensures that Americans can access factual accounts of history without political alteration. Glenn Kirshner emphasized that the judiciary plays a critical role in maintaining historical integrity and legal accountability, especially when federal agencies attempt to act beyond their legal authority. Reuters also points out that this case demonstrates the limits of political influence over judicial proceedings. While speculation exists regarding potential Supreme Court involvement, the facts are clear. The preliminary injunction mandates restoration of the exhibit, and federal law prohibits arbitrary modification of historical records. The case has prompted discussions about the enforcement mechanisms available to courts. Contempt of court, including financial penalties and possible criminal liability, is necessary to compel compliance when government agencies disregard legal directives. According to AP, courts have historically held federal agencies accountable for repeated violations, and this ruling may set a precedent for future cases involving historical preservation and administrative overreach. Glenn Kirshner further explained that compliance with court orders is essential for maintaining the rule of law. When agencies fail to adhere to legal requirements, the judiciary has limited options: either impose fines or escalate to criminal contempt to enforce compliance. The court's forward-leaning approach emphasizes that accountability is non-negotiable, particularly when historical truth is at stake. The appeal process will examine the trial court record in detail. Since the administration presented no evidence at the trial stage, they are legally bound by the existing record. This makes their chances of overturning the ruling on appeal highly uncertain. Multiple sources, including Reuters and NBC News, confirm that the plaintiff's case rests on clear legal grounds, procedural adherence, and uncontested evidence. The broader implication of this case extends beyond the Trump administration. It highlights the critical role of federal courts in preserving historical accuracy and ensuring that government actions adhere to statutory requirements. By enforcing the Administrative Procedures Act and other federal laws, courts provide a check against arbitrary actions by government agencies, safeguarding both historical truth and public accountability. Judge Roof's opinion also underscored the societal importance of acknowledging both positive and negative aspects of American history. Removing evidence of slavery from public exhibits erases critical lessons from the past. The ruling emphasizes that documenting the experiences of enslaved individuals contributes to public understanding and helps prevent historical revisionism. AP reports that the Trump administration has stated its intention to appeal the ruling. However, given the procedural constraints and the lack of evidence submitted during the trial, legal experts believe the appeal is unlikely to succeed. The appellate court will review the trial record as it stands, and the administration's prior admission of historical accuracy strengthens the plaintiff's position. This case also illustrates the intersection of law, history, and politics. While political pressures may encourage the alteration of historical narratives, the judiciary serves as a safeguard to ensure that factual accounts are preserved. NBC News highlights that this ruling reinforces the principle that federal agencies cannot arbitrarily change historical records, even when doing so aligns with a political agenda. The preliminary injunction requires immediate action. The administration must restore the exhibits and comply with court directives. Legal analysts note that failure to comply could trigger enforcement actions, including fines or criminal contempt. Glenn Kirshner emphasized that such enforcement is crucial to prevent repeated violations and maintain legal integrity. In conclusion, the appeal will determine whether Judge Roof's ruling stands, but current legal analysis strongly favors the plaintiffs. The preliminary injunction mandates restoration of the historical exhibits and reinforces legal accountability for federal agencies. By upholding historical truth and enforcing compliance with federal law, the court provides a precedent for protecting both historical accuracy and public accountability. The ruling demonstrates that accurate historical documentation is essential for societal understanding and education. Preserving narratives of slavery and other challenging aspects of American history ensures that future generations can learn from the past. Compliance with judicial orders and statutory requirements remains the responsibility of federal agencies, regardless of political pressures. This legal battle highlights the importance of courts in maintaining historical integrity. The Trump administration's actions serve as a reminder that even high-level government officials must adhere to legal processes, and failure to do so may result in penalties or enforcement actions. By preserving the historical exhibits, the court ensures that public access to factual history is maintained, and the rule of law is upheld.